Hello, this is what it's all about, and this video we're going to be looking at the comparison between the Christopher Ward C60 Trident and also the C61 Trident. As I'm sure you realise, they are more or less the same model, except for the difference being 4mm in the diameter of the case. So what we'll do in this video is just have a look at the differences. Obviously the main difference is really going to be in the case because they are practically identical, but it's good to have a look, see which one would work best for you. Okay, so let me just take this one off and I'll put them both on the same wrist because then the size difference is a bit more evident. So, as you can see there, you can see how much difference 4mm makes. In this example, the C60 is the one with the old logo, and the C61 is the one with the new logo, just to keep it nice and easy to be able to tell the difference. So basically, the C60 being 42mm was a bit too big for some people. Some people with smaller wrists or who just don't prefer oversized divers were a bit disappointed because they couldn't really go for the C60, even though it is a beautiful watch. So with the introduction of the C61, those people who prefer the smaller case size are now able to do so, which is great news. The main difference is in the size of the case. As you can see, more or less the designs are practically exactly the same. So what I'll do is I'll take them off and we can have a look at them side by side. Okay, so let's get focused. Okay, so as you'll notice, the wave pattern on the dial is still exactly the same. All of the hour markers are all exactly the same. The hands are designed exactly the same as well. The bezel, again, exactly the same. So as far as the dial itself is concerned, the main difference is the location of the date window. You'll see that because of the size of the movement, obviously the date window can only really go in one position. So because of the smaller size, it's slightly more towards the edge on the C61 than the C60. Another thing to notice is that the hands are the same scale and ratio on the C61, but because it's a smaller dial, they are actually slightly smaller. So you'll notice there that they do reach the same point. So the hour hand reaches just on the underside of the hour markers, and the minute hands reach the edge of the minute track, and the second hand is the same but slightly scaled down as well. One interesting thing to note is the red tip on the end of the second hand is actually longer on the C61. It matches up with the batons for the 12, 3, 6 and 9 hour hands, which I think actually makes it look a bit nicer because it stands out a bit more. So that's the main differences on the dial. As I mentioned before, the bezel is exactly the same, just a smaller version, and the grip is more or less exactly the same as well. As you can see there, comparison between the two. So looking at the actual case, let's look at it side on. So you can see there, lug to lug length, there is actually quite a lot of difference there. And then the other side. So the C60 does wear quite a lot larger on the wrist. And then try and get it exactly lined up. You see the difference in size there as well. With the crown, the crown is also scaled down on the C61. I find that because it is scaled down, they've also reduced the grip on it. So I personally actually think that the grip on the C60 isn't as easy to unscrew the crown on the C61, sorry, than the C60. So I prefer the crown on the original Trident. The crown guards as well, exactly the same shape. It does look like the C60 protrudes out a little bit more, but that's just scaling differences again. So yeah, that's that. The lugs, exactly the same shape. The nice downturn of the lugs, which result in the case hugging the wrist nicely. As you can see, it comes down nicely there. Everything with the case finishing is exactly the same. So sides are brushed and the tops are polished, as you'd expect. The case back is a lot smaller on the C61. Let's try and get. That's just a different style as well, the new version case back. So nothing interesting really to note there. So yeah, that's the main differences for the case. The strap, it's a 22mm strap on the C60 and a 20mm strap on the C61. So you can see there that they are ever so slightly different thicknesses. If I go like that, you can see there the C60 on the left hand side is thicker. So obviously that affects the way it looks and the way it wears on the wrist. The buckle as well is to match the size of the strap. So the C61 buckle is just a tiny bit thinner, but apart from that, it is exactly the same Christopher Ward butterfly clasp as you would find on any other watch, just a slightly thinner width. So what difference does 4mm make? Well, I think it does actually make a lot of difference on how the watch appears on the wrist. I think with the C60, the 42mm C60, it is a classic oversized diver, and it looks brilliant on the wrist. And the C61, because it is that tiny bit smaller, it does look a little bit smarter and dressier on the wrist, which let me just put it on properly, which I do appreciate. Looks very nice, and it gives it a different look to it. So that's the C61. So for reference, I've got about a 7.5-inch wrist. So you'll see there it does hug the wrist nicely. Also, the smaller case does result in the C61 being a lot lighter as well. So it does feel a lot more comfortable on the wrist, and it means that it doesn't, like, you know, when you get it where it twists or it feels like it's slightly sinking like that. With the C61, that's not a problem because it is a really nice light weight compared to the C60. So that's the C61, and we'll just put the C60 on just to see the difference. And there we go, that's a C60. So you'll see it does cover my wrist a lot more. So bearing in mind that I have got a 7.5-inch wrist, I personally would say anyone under a 7-inch wrist or a 6.5-inch wrist, the C60 is probably going to be too big for you, unless you really do love oversized watches. The C61 will be a much better option for you at 38mm. Okay, so they're the main differences really. They're both equally as well made and as good looking as one another. And to be honest, the only single question is, what size would you prefer? Do you prefer the 42mm or the 38mm? So do you prefer a smaller, classier, more elegant watch? In that case, go for the C61. But if you want a nice, large, oversized diver, C60 is your man. Okay, so we'll just finish off by going a bit closer, just so you can have a decent look at the differences on the dials. And that's it. So I still think the Christopher Ward Trident is one of the best value for money Swiss-made affordable divers available, and it's just amazingly designed, and I really do love it. So no matter which one you go for, you are basically onto a winner. So I'll leave it in your capable hands. Okay, so that's what it's all about, and this was the comparison between the C60 and the C61.